again. Welcome to Koala Knits by Shelly. I am going to show you how to make a baby sleep sack and matching beanie. And this is a set that I designed because I was selling a lot of the Cocoon sets that we make that are 200 rows on the Addi King. And they're for infants and they're wonderful. I've sold a lot of them, but they don't last for very long because the babies outgrow them so quickly. So I thought I would design one that could go with the baby a little bit longer. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial. I used Loops and Thread Baby Delight yarn, and the great thing about it is that it only takes one ball for all of this. So I hope you enjoy the tutorial, and yeah, I'd love to see your creations. Post them on some of the groups that we're all on, and I would love to see them. So take care, have fun, and if you wouldn't mind, please subscribe and like my channel. I would appreciate that so much. I'm really enjoying making these videos for you, and I hope that you're enjoying them as well. All right, my friends, take care, and we'll see you soon. I just thought I would give you a quick shot of the back as well. It's got the braided join on the two ends there. It's just lovely. It's just, this is such a beautiful gift that many new moms would just love to receive, I'm sure. So anyways, that's the back of it. So, all right, join me in the rest of the video. All right, so let's begin our project. For this project, we're going to need waste yarn for the both ends of the tube, actually, for the beginning and the end of the tube. And you're going to want to grab a contrasting color of waste yarn so that you can see the stitch as well once you take it off your machine and you want to close the end. Then you're easy to, the stitches are easier to find. And I'll show you what I mean once we get to that point. So we're doing a long tail cast on behind and in front of each needle. If you need a better explanation of this from start to finish and to see it slowly, then go ahead and look up my video on that and you'll see how to do that. But for the sake of time for this video, I'm going to just go ahead and do the long tail cast on here. And I do generally about 7 or 8 rows of waste yarn, making sure that it's loose coming off of my ball there. So go ahead and do that. I wasn't keeping track how many rows, but I can eyeball it and see what I like. Okay, that's probably about 4 or 5. Let's do a couple more. Oops. One more after this, and halfway around my row, I generally stop and I change my counter so that it's on 0, so that I'm ready to go when I get to the end, okay? So I'm at the end there. I'm going to snip off this waste yarn. I'm going to grab my working yarn, making sure that my tail of my waste yarn goes between that last white and that first black, those two there. Then open your yarn guide. You're going to take your working yarn, your main color yarn, and you're going to insert it just like that. Then I just always do 3 or 4 needles, and then I pull it taut just so it goes tightly under there. I find that gives me a better tension whenever I'm changing my colors of yarn at the beginning of every row. So then when I take my project off, it's even at the start of every row when it comes to the tension part of the stitches. Okay, so I'm going to crank my handle until I get to 110 rows. I love this yarn in this machine. I have been using Craft Smart yarn for most of my projects, but I came across this yarn. It's called Baby Delight. I'm just looking at it now, sorry, it's off camera. It's a 3-weight light yarn, and it just, oh my goodness, I just love how it goes through my machine. And it's so soft when I take it off. So I'm looking forward to showing you what this end project looks like. Some of the pictures in the video, which I have already said in the beginning introduction of this video, those cocoons that you see, or the sleep sacks that you see, were made out of 4-weight yarn, Craft Smart yarn. And although they're beautiful and I absolutely love them, I'm really liking this lightweight yarn for this project as well. So whatever yarn you choose, it'll be a beautiful project. Okay, so you keep cranking until you get to row 110, and we'll see you then. I'll probably pop on halfway through to show you how I roll up my my project into a donut so that the tension remains even around the whole project. And I always tie my ends there too so that it doesn't start to unravel and loosen. Okay, so keep going and I'll see you back midway through. Okay, I'm at row 62 and my project is starting to hit the base of the table. So I want to roll it into a donut. So if I kept going and I didn't roll it up, then it would start to pucker like this, and then I would risk dropping stitches or tuck stitches and just having really bad tension. So I take it from the bottom. Oh, this is so soft. This is the first time I've made a sleep sack out of this yarn. I'm doing it for the video here, and like I said, I've just used the Craft Smart yarn, but I was able to get a bunch of this yarn in a lot of different colors, and so excuse me, this is the first time that I'm using it, and boy is it ever nice. It goes through my machine so great. So if you haven't ever used it, you should pick some up and try using it. It's just wonderful. So that's what I do. I roll it up into a donut and then I keep going until I get to row 110. So happy knitting. We'll see you soon. Okay, I'm coming near the end and this just didn't take very long at all. It clicked on row 108. That's 109. I'm going to keep going. I had to roll up my donut several times as I was going, just so that you know. Continue doing that and it just keeps your tension even around the outside ring here. Okay, so I am now going to click on to row 110 and I'm going to finish that row. I'm going to watch for that black marked peg to come around so I know that I'm at the end. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to cut off my working yarn. Open my yarn guide, put it between the last white and the first black needle, and then I'm going to insert my waste yarn back into the yarn guide. Hold both ends like that, and I'm going to do 3 or so needles and then just pull on both ends of the waste yarn. I wouldn't have to do it for the waste yarn, but it's a habit and I like to keep that habit going so that I don't forget when I'm actually changing colors during my project with the working yarn, so that I just stay consistent. Okay, so I'm going to crank out about 7 or 8 rows. Just got a knot that went through small little knot that went through my yarn guide onto my needle, so I'm hoping that I'm not going to drop a stitch here, or tuck a stitch. It's generally a tuck stitch that you get when you're on your machine like this. Drop stitch when you're taking your project off and it falls off, this little loop falls off your little teeth, and you'll get a drop stitch. Okay, so I'm going to give my 2 yarn ends a little bit of a tie there just so it doesn't come unraveled. I'm going to stop at that. That's probably 6 or 7 rows, maybe a little bit more. It might be 7 or 8, but I think it looks good. So I'm going to cut my waste yarn, open my yarn guide, make sure that waste yarn goes between those 2, the last white and the last black. And then I'm going to crank until it starts to fall off, which will happen on the second time around. And there you go. Always tends to get stuck on that last one, but it's okay, we'll unfeed it. There we go, we've got our donut. And now I want you to do that 3 times. So 2 more times. You need 3 panels that look exactly like this. And when you get that done, come back and we will assemble. Okay, now that we have our tubes all off our machine and stretched in every direction so that our stitches are nice and soft and beautiful and lined up with even tension, we're going to sew up the ends, okay? So I use bobby pins as my stitch markers. If you've seen any of my videos, you know that that's what I use all the time. So I'm going to place them in my first and my last stitch. If you need to see how to better find those, look up my video on how to do a straight closure on a tube. Just surf down in my videos and you'll see it, and I'll explain it better. But I know there's 46 around, so I'm going to count till I get to 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, so 24 and 23 are the middle. So I'm going to insert my crochet hook under 24, and I'm going to take 23 and bring it through that loop. Then I'm going to go down, take 25, bring it through, then take 22 and go back and forth just like this to close my tube. Grabbing the bottom stitch here, put it through the loop on my hook, then grab the top one, put it through. Again, I have a video on this where I explain it in more detail and I go much slower. So you're going to get all your stitches joined just like this, which is why it's so very important to have a contrasting color. When you use waste yarn, always use always use a contrasting color so you can see your stitches so easily. See, all these bumps here are my stitches. So I'm trying to hide my fingers from you. I tell you, my daughter got me a certificate to get my nails done. So I went to this nail place and had acrylic nails put on, but to get the acrylic nails put on, they take a file and they file down your nail bed, which mine were already very thin. They file down your nail bed, then they put these nails on. So when they come off, like a couple of weeks later, instead of getting them filled, I just wanted them off because I couldn't do any of my work here with long nails. It wrecked my nail bed, so now I'm waiting for my nails to all grow out. They're so thin, so brittle, so they get to a certain length and they just break off. So I have to have patience in waiting till they can grow and get cut and grow and get cut till the new nail comes in completely. And then hopefully I'll have nice nails again. But for now, oh man, I'll never do that again. I mean, for those people who do it and want to keep it for you know, a good length of time and get them refilled and, you know, so on and so forth, then all the power to you. That's great. My kids both do that. So, but for me, I just realized that it was fun, but not something I want to continue doing. Okay, so we've got that end closed and we're going to pull off the waste yarn. This was the easy end again, to pull off the waste yarn. There's always a easy end and there's a hard end. This is the easy end. This is the end of the project. So where we cast on before we started our project, that side is always a little bit harder. So we've got that side all nice and done. It's beautiful. We're gonna go to our next side and we're going to do the same thing, okay? So we're going to take out this little knot that I put in, just so I am sure that it doesn't start to unravel before I get to it to finish it here. So I put it in my last stitch and my first stitch. I'll just tell you here, when you grab your waste yarn, here, your end of your waste yarn, whatever stitch that's coming out of, like you see it here, it's going underneath that purple one. That's the first stitch that I want to put my marker in. Then this one here, right to the left of it, you'll see two stitches. They look like one's just on top of the other. Take the top one, and you'll see that is where your working yarn is coming out of. Is that where your working yarn is coming out of? Let me just see here. Yeah, it's coming out of this one here, but I want to go up to the top one there. So those are the two stitches that I line up from and count from. Okay, so then I'm going to count around till I get to 24 again, and I'm going to do the same thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hook underneath 24, grab 23, bring it through, then go down to the bottom, grab the next one up to the top, and back and forth until you get to the end. I actually really love closing these. I find it very satisfying. Because I love to hold a crochet hook. I'm a crocheter as well, and I love to crochet. Ironically enough, since I got my machines at Christmas last year, I have hardly picked up a crochet hook and done any crocheting because I'm too busy using my knitting machine. So anyways, I find this part fun. Okay, so we're gonna keep going until we get to the end, and we're gonna finish off just like we did before, and then I'll show you how I remove this waste yarn. Okay, so once we get to that all joined just like that, doesn't that look just so pretty? I just love it. You know what? I love purple and yellow together too. It looks gorgeous, so I might do a blanket with those two colors at some point. But now I roll up the edge just like that until I can find that very top layer. I pinch the stitch that's to the left of it, and then I pull. Okay, then I go farther down, maybe 6 or 7 stitches. I roll it up until I grab that top layer there. Then I pinch that stitch. The reason why I pinch it is so, you see how it's gathering in here? I don't know if you can see between my fingers there. It's gathering. If I don't pinch that stitch, it gathers all the way around and then it gets a knot. So pinch the stitch that's just before where you're gonna pull out that top row, all the way around. Took a bigger chunk here. All the way around until you get the top row out. Once you get the top row out, then it unravels like so easily, just like the other end did, okay? So I'm almost at the end there. So you see there's a big loop there. So I'm at the end. I'm going to pull that off. Then I can unravel the rest very easily, just like that. Okay, so you're gonna go ahead and do that to all 3 tubes, getting your ends completely finished, and then we're going to go ahead and join. So beautiful, that's done. We got a beautiful end there. I'm gonna get those done on all 3 of my panels, and then I'll meet you back. Okay, so now we're going to do the braid stitch and join our panels. We've got 3 of them made with 110 rows each. You're going to line up the sides. If you've got 2 sides, like every one of these has a yarn end. So line up one yarn end side with one that's not a yarn end, because then you can use this to finish off the top later. Okay, so line up your sides like this, and you want to make sure that your V's, the point of the V is at the top, and the wide end of the V is going down that way, okay? So make sure that's on both sides. So if your side panel is naturally going to one that looks like this, where the V's are, the point is at the bottom, give it a half a turn, just like that, just so that you have the wide end of the V stitch facing down and the point up at the top. Very, very important. Okay, so for this braided stitch, we're going to, this is the first stitch right up here, this little corner one and this little one up here, but I don't go into there because I find it's too tight, and I find that by me fiddling around in there, I get it all stretched out. So I use this yarn end to tie it to seam it closed later, and it's no problem. So go down to the second stitch, pull up that bar, then go across to that second stitch, go between that stitch and pull up that bar and feed it through the bar that's on your hook. Then you're going to notice that this is the next bar here. So this space right here is the one that you've used. So I count 1, 2, and I go to that bar. Then I go across, 1, 2, and I go to this bar. So basically you're missing every second bar, or you're working every second bar all the way down. Now I do have a video on this if you want to see it slower. And there you're creating the bar stitch, okay? Making sure that you do not move off of this row. You want to keep this same row all the way down. And because you've done 110 stitches or 110 rows on all your panels, this will always line up. You'll never have one that's longer than the other. It might look longer, and I've mentioned this in several of my other videos too. It might look longer when you're laying it out on the table and you say, oh man, one's longer than the other. That's only because of the way you stretched it. Afterwards, you might have stretched one with a little bit more firmness than the other one, and so then it looks longer. But once you start joining, you have the same number of stitches going down because you've done 110 rows on each panel. It will work out. So again, miss that one, or count that as 1, so you're missing this bar, and you're going down to this one, you're taking the next bar. So I just count 1, 2, and then I can just eyeball it. I've done it enough times that I can eyeball it, and you'll be able to do that too if you're new at doing this join. But I just think it's so pretty. You'll see that, there we go, that's the braided join that it looks like. And we're going to do that all the way down the panel. So make your way all the way down, and then I'll meet you at the end. I'm coming up to the end, and I have stayed on the same row, making sure not to twist, and I'm going to just finish off. So I choose not to do this first stitch again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to yarn over and grab that tail, and I'm going to put it through that loop, and then I'm going to thread this end onto my needle, and I'm going to just join these two and then hide the end. That gives me a very beautiful finished join. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to grab my other panel. We're going to attach that one too. So go down to the end that you started on. So always start the same end. So with this tail here, I'm going to also put my needle on it, and I'm going to pick up these stitches, and I'm going to make that straight across there too. So this is the right side of your baby sleep sack. This is the wrong side. The wrong side is nice too, but you can tell that the braided join isn't as prevalent as what it is on this side. So you want to make sure you start on the same side. So your V's, let me just grab a needle here. Your V's are going down like this as you braid. Oops, I'm off camera. Your V's are going down like this as you braid. and you want to maintain that. So you're going to take your next panel, you're going to do exactly what you just did, making sure that this right side is facing up, and then you're going to take your second panel, you're going to put your two sides together again, making sure again that this side is facing up, facing you. So the wrong sides are together, and you're going to seam down the right sides, okay? Again, making sure that your stitches are lined up so that the wide part of your V is going in the same direction on both sides. Work that all the way down, and then I'll meet you back. I've got all my ends all nicely done, but I left one so I can show you just simply what I do. And then my lighting is getting bad, so I'm gonna have to move my setup here so that I can have a better lighting for you in the rest of this video, okay? So I just take that end, just like that, and I join it. It's very simply done. Oops, lost it. Very simply done. Tie a knot, a double knot, do it twice. These needles are awesome. I learned about these through Jojo Juju, and I get them in Walmart. They come in a package of three different sizes, but they got a little hard plastic loop there, so it's easy to thread, and they're metal, so they don't bend, and they're perfect. I use them for everything. I already wore out a set actually, and I just bought a new set. So there you go. I just tie a double knot, then I weave this in down the row. In part of the video, a little bit earlier, I called this a bar join, I guess because I was telling you to grab the bars, but it's called a braided join, not a bar join. All right, so we've got our 3 panels together, just like that. Now we're going to take the 2 ends. Take the 2 ends, now you have it so that the wrong side is facing you, okay? So that the wrong side is facing you, you take the 2 ends, and you're going to put them together just like you normally would with the wrong sides together. This is the right side out now. I had the right side facing the table so that I could grab the ends to put the ends together. Just like that. And then you're going to close this side the same way you closed the other 2 sides, except for what you're going to do is you're going to go to the far end, the end that you finish on. Sorry, I had started on this end and then I pulled it out. So now I'm going to just straighten that for you. Okay, so you're going to go to this end and you're going to count down. I'm going to grab my stitch marker. You're going to count down, I believe what I do is 27 stitches. So let me just, I'm going to eyeball it as I count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Yeah, that's what I like. I like the 27 stitch mark. Put a stitch marker in there, grab my second stitch marker. I'm going to do the same thing. 1, 2, well, you know what, you can just actually line it up like this, but I like to have exactly the same. I want to make sure that it's actually exactly the same. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, this one right here. Okay, so I'm going to put my stitch marker there, and then you can just even join them here just so that it stays together. Okay, this is going to be where my fold comes in. So I'm going to go back down to the other end, and I'm going to start my join the same way that I showed you for the other 2 sections, and I'm going to join it all the way up to where those stitch markers are, and then I'll be back to I'll be back to show you what I do then from there. We've made it up to our stitch marker here, and so at this point we can just take these out because this is about where we want to stop, give or take a stitch or 2. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do just one more section here to where those stitch markers were. Okay, so I have taken a needle and a piece of yarn that's about, oh, I don't know, maybe it's a foot long, 10 inches long, not that long. And I'm going to just remove my crochet hook here. I'm going to take this yarn, I'm going to feed it through that loop, just like that, just simply. And then this is all I do. I go through that stitch into the back with that one piece, then I thread the other end, and I go on the other side through that stitch just like that. And I take it to the back, flip it over, tie a knot, not so tight that it puckers, but just a nice knot to secure it. And then I take these two ends, thread my needle. I can cut them shorter, but my scissors aren't within reach. So then I go inside and I just hide it, tuck it down in through those two pieces, just like that. Snip it off, and that's how I close that end up. Let me just see if I can reach for my scissors here. There we go. Snip it off. Let it fall down in through there, okay? So now we've got this part of our sleep sack done, okay? So beautiful. You would never know that you just tied a knot on the inside there. It's just a beautiful way of joining it. So, excuse me, that's the front. You've got your braid coming down the front. Now, if you flip it over, you've got your braid coming down both sides right there. So I just love it. I just think it's so good. So nice, and it's so soft. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to work on the bottom, okay? So let me just see if I can get this to just come in just a little bit, just like that, okay? So I have a tail here that was left from that middle braid. And I'm first of all gonna join this so that it's nice and closed. Now, what I like to do is if you take these two braids from the other side and you line them up just like that, and then you just, I hope you can see what I'm doing. Oops, let me get this out of there. If you take these two braids in the back and you line them up, fold it so you line it up and then follow that across, this is your middle, okay? So your working string here is attached to the very middle of the front, right there. So now you found that your middle in the back, you're gonna wanna just feed it through the center there, just through the stitch, pull it, and just sew it together just once, just like that. That's all you need, okay? Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna fold them like this so that you can find your center on this side. Then I'm gonna take my yarn needle and I'm gonna put it through there. And I'm going to pull it, go over to the other side, find my center, put it through those stitches, find that center, and you could just take your peaks out just like that so that you've got 4 peaks out just like that. And that'll help you. And then you just want to reinforce that. Can I do this without going off camera? My goodness. Okay, so you just want to reinforce that area. So I just go around a couple of times, tie a little bit of a knot, and see how you've got your little flower looking, clover looking thing there. Now you're just going to smooth it out. Get your ends together, line them up just like that. You might have to add another piece of yarn because if you didn't have enough left there, you can just attach it, and just like I did, take a longer piece, attach it, tie a knot, and then hide the ends. Use both ends to sew up and then hide. I'm gonna have to attach another piece of yarn for this as well. So I'm gonna work on this one side. So I'm gonna turn it again just because I need to see what I'm doing. And then I just go through all 4 layers. And come right over top and go around. I like the seam at the top, just like that. I don't go back and forth like a whip stitch. I go over the top and then back through from the same side, from this side to this side all the time. Because then I know it's secure, completely secure, and I'm not gonna have a hole. And I do that all the way down, and I fasten off at the end, tie a knot. I'm gonna run out of yarn here. Maybe not, I might be able to make it. Here we go. This is so soft. I think this is gonna be my new favorite yarn actually. It's just wonderful. It's gonna be so nice and soft on the baby skin. Okay, so I've got one side almost done here. I'm gonna slip that through like that, tie a knot, do another one just the same way. I'm going to take this yarn and I'm gonna just weave it through here and cut it off. Had I had a longer piece of yarn, I would have just wove it in up to the middle there and started sewing across, but I don't. So I'm going to just attach a piece of yarn and finish sewing the other end. So I don't think I have to show you how to do that. I'm just gonna attach a long piece in the middle, then tie it, you tie a tight knot, and then I'm gonna seam across here and then hide it like I hid this, and then we'll begin our pom-poms and put our pom-poms on the end, okay? So you can very clearly see how that's starting to look. So that's going to be our end. Sewn together like that, and we have this nice little tuck on the sides here. We've got the braid going right up the middle, bring it up, and we've got our little fold down section that's so pretty. I do a crochet border around mine. I'm not going to do that in this video, but I do a crochet border around it. I pick up every second stitch on a single crochet going down the middle here. In the very point here, I do a single crochet, chain one single crochet, and then I keep going up the side. And then up the side here, I go into every stitch that's wide at the top. So basically it's every second row. So I go into the wide part of it, every stitch all the way around, and I do a single crochet to finish it off that way. But you can see very clearly that you do not have to do that. It's beautiful just the way it is. Okay, so I'm going to finish this up, then I will show you how I make my pom-poms and how I attach them, and we're almost done. Then we'll finish up our hat, and we've got a beautiful little set here. So I hope you're enjoying this tutorial. I hope you're enjoying making them. I just get so excited when something comes together so nicely. I made a lot of the cocoons that are just a single panel of 200 rows, and then it's like doing a beanie. You'll see them all over the different groups that we're on. But I was finding that they're for newborn babies and they don't last for very long. So I thought I'm going to design something that's quite a bit bigger that will last for a longer time for those little sweet little babies. So this is what I came up with. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you are getting a lot of pleasure out of making one. So I'm going to finish up the bottom there, and then we'll get back in and add the pom-poms. Okay. I'm sure when some of you see how I do my pom-poms, you're gonna say, "Oh, Shelly, oh, Shelly from Koala Knits. There's such a better way to make pom-poms," but this is how I've always made them. No matter if I'm, crocheting and I need a pom-pom or whatever the case, this is how I've always done it. And and it works for me. So for the baby, so I just took a piece of yarn that's, I don't know, maybe 10 inches long, 10 inches to a foot long, and I folded it in half, and I tucked that folded loop through my needle on the hook here, not the open ends, but the other one, the other end, the looped end through that needle, set it down. Then I'm going to take my yarn, and I have 2 little fingers here for a baby. For an adult beanie, I will use 4 fingers. For the I'm just going to get some slack out of here. For this particular project, I use 2 fingers. Now for the 4-weight yarn, I wrap it around. Like, I just hold my fingers open a little bit like this. For the 4-weight yarn, I wrapped it around 20 times. I'm gonna do 30 for this because it's so thin. Okay, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 7, 28, 29, 30. Doesn't feel thick enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40. I'm gonna do 40, okay? Then you cut it off, and this is how much yarn I have left from that first ball. Like, I'm shocked, but that's so awesome. Then I'm gonna take my threaded needle that I have here. I'm gonna go up through my fingers, bring it through. Then I'm gonna go down through my fingers like that, remove the needle. Then I flip my fingers. I put my 2 fingers through that loop. I grab those 2 ends and I pull it really tight, okay? Then I gently, sometimes I struggle, I pull it off of my fingers, just like I'm doing. Sometimes you gotta really work, but hey, it's okay. So then I take my one end, I separate it, and I go around one direction. I take the other one and I go around the other direction. And I hope this is making sense to you. And then I take the 2 ends, I tie it very tight But you got to be very careful, because if you pull that too tight, you'll break your thread and then you got to start all over again. Okay, so snug so that the pieces aren't going to come out, and then you've got your end here for sewing onto the bottom of the sleep sack. You've got your little flower looking thing there, and I go through the loops and I cut. Then I go on the other side, do the same thing. Then what I do is I put it between my thumb and my finger, and I squish it and hold it like that, and I cut it off so that it's even, and then I go a little bit lower and do it again. I held it a little high up. See, some of these loops weren't even cut, but that's okay. They'll get cut when I do it this way. So I'm going to pull those through, and I'm going to snip it. The lower you snip it, the rounder and fuller your pom-pom is going to be. Give it a good haircut. Okay? Then I shake it out a little bit. They're so small, they're so cute. Shake it out. Look how cute that is. And then I just trim around the bottom like this. And keep your scissors handy, because after you make all of them, you're going to trim them again. I take the one end of the strand. I had the two strands that were hanging from my pom-pom. I take one end, thread my needle. I start in the middle of the bottom there, and I go right through all 4 layers with that one, pull it through. Then I'm going to remove that from my needle. I'm going to thread the other one. Then I'm going to take it across, and I'm going to go through there the opposite direction. Okay, and then I'm taking it off the needle there, and I'm going to tie a knot. Get it underneath that little pom-pom. Tie a good firm knot. Okay, so you've got one, and then you're going to, you can either snip these off and let them be a part of the pom-pom, or you can hide them. I think what I did, yeah, what I'm going to do is snip them off and let them be a part of the pom-pom, because why not? Why make work if you don't have to? Okay, so I'm going to snip those off right now. See, you don't even have to hide it. So I've got one in the middle, and then I'm going to do as many more as I need to make this look full. And I think 1, 2, 3, 4 more on this side and 4 more on this side. So you're going to make 9 pom-poms. 9 or 7 for sure, no less than 7. I'm going to start with 7. So I've got one here. I'm going to make 6 more, and then I'm going to attach them one at a time across, and I'm going to see how full that is. And when I'm done that, I will, oh, that's so cute. And when I'm done that, I will see you back. Now, if you were choosing not, for your beanie, let me just say, if you were choosing not to do duplicate stitch and you wanted to have a brim and you did 70 rows, you could put one of these little pom-poms at the top of your hat, and it's just so absolutely adorable. So that's how I do the pom-pom. So I'm going to make 6 more and attach them and see if I need any more, and I'll see you back. I got them all on, and surprisingly I needed 8. So usually it's 1 in the middle and then equal amounts on both sides, but I guess I must have made one a little bit bigger than the other. So I've got 4 on one side and I've got 3 on the other side. So either that or I just squished them together and didn't even them out. But that's okay, because the next step is going to make them all uniform. So once you get them all on, just like that, you'll see that they're all, you can leave it like that if you like. It's a little bit more of a messy look, but I then take my hands and I squish them up like this, and I make sure that they're all cut to the same height. Give them a little haircut there. That little one in the middle was extra little. I think I must have done that one a little bit smaller, and this one that I'm cutting now is a bit bigger. So this is why every pom-pom's a little bit unique. Depends how wide you held your fingers open. There's all kinds of reasons. So just clean them up like this and we'll get them even. So I like to go straight across at the top. Don't be scared, it's easy to do. Just like that. And then fluff them all out. I see that there's some trimming that needs to be done here. Oops, got a piece of my hair in there. Then you just trim it up. I actually have a bigger pair of scissors that I wish I would have grabbed for this because I do like them better. They're sharper. And you just even it all up, all around, till you get it to look the way you want it to look. So I just fluff those up like that. My husband brought me home a Sentro this evening. I was on Marketplace and I found a Sentro 48 needle machine. I have the Addi 22 and the 46, which I use obviously all the time. But I saw the Sentro 48 needle and I thought that might be better for beanies for adults. So it was at a good price with a pattern book as well. And so he went and picked it up after work from Winnipeg and brought it back home. And it was a 40 needle machine instead of a 48. So I was really disappointed, but I just popped on our group Jojo Juju. I don't know if I'm saying your name right, Jojo. I'm sorry. If you're watching this, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. But I think that's how it is. And I asked my friends all on there what they thought, and I got some really quick, fast responses that the Sentro 40 is excellent for headbands and scarves and newborn beanies and stuff. So I called the lady back and I said that, you know, it was actually a 40 needle and not a 48, and she was generous. She's going to e-transfer me some of my money back because the 40 is quite a bit less expensive than the other one, and it was brand new. So I feel very happy about that. I think that's really great. Okay, I got all these little fuzzies everywhere after sharing that little story with you. But those are easy to clean up. See, I've got some poking out here, which I don't like. Make sure you don't grab a stitch here by accident. I just about did with my needle as I'm talking here, and then cut your project. That would be just awful. Okay, so I just give it a trim until I like how it looks. I like it to try to make it look like it's one piece instead of 8 different pom-poms, and so you just do it until you like how it looks. Okay, so now you're going to see that I've got little pieces of pom-pom all over the place here, but I'm liking how this is starting to look. Got a few sections here that I still want to clean up. But I think that's looking real good. This one looks a little longer. So it's fun. You can become a hairdresser for a second and get this all trimmed up the way you like it. Okay? One of my daughters is a hairdresser. I should get her to come and trim this for me. So anyways, there you have it. We've got our pom-pom fringe all nicely trimmed up and looking really good. And you just play with that and fluff it up and trim it where you think you need to trim. Might take a little bit of time to do it. I'm still seeing little edges here that I don't want to have there, so I trim them off. And there you have it. Get that out of the way. That's what it looks like. I'm happy with that. I think that looks really, really good. I might do a little bit of extra trimming just in here and stuff once I fluff it up with my fingers and get it going, but you get the idea. That's how you do it. So now that we've got that done, we're going to move on and do our baby beanie. So I'll see you in a second with that. Now that we have our beanie made and off our machine, I like to give it a little stretch in every direction. Man, with this 3-weight yarn, it sure feels different than any of the 4-weight yarn I've ever used. As I said to you before, this is really the first time I've used a 3-weight yarn. I've always used 4-weight. So I'm really loving it. I think it's great. So I take one side and I just cinch it closed. I'm going to take my needle, thread the end, and I'm going to just reinforce this closure here just by going around underneath those stitches. Oops, let me pull that out. It's too long. Underneath those stitches and going around the circle, maybe twice. If you hear the noise in the background, that's my husband. He's outside doing the lawn. Okay, let me see here. So that's got to be good. So then you tie a little knot. This is how I close my adult beanies as well. Any beanie that I make, this is how I do it. oops, I went through that. I split that yarn and I'm going to go back through that because otherwise it's going to give me some problems. So there we go. Tighten it. Now I'm going to just stick my needle in the top of that little hole there and find it inside. And bring it right through. And pull on that so that the knot comes into the center there. Then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make sure that this yarn tail is outside of the hat, and I'm going to do the same thing with this other side. Once I pull the drawstring a little bit, I snip off this yarn because I really don't need all that yarn. Thread my needle. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing that I did on the other side, other end. And I'm going to just weave it through these stitches to reinforce the closure. Okay. Now this is an infant hat, baby hat, so I mean they're not hard on their hats. You're not going to be obviously pulling it and tugging on it and what have you, so you don't have to reinforce it too terribly much. It's going to be fine. So I'm going to take the two ends and I'm going to tie a knot, being very careful not to break the yarn, but also want to pull the inside layer up close and snug to this top layer here. And I give it a couple knots. I usually do 3. Then I'm going to just snip this off just to make it easier. Thread your needle again and poke that through the layers. So once your ends are stitched and nicely tucked close up together and tied off, and your ends hidden, you've got this beautiful little soft little tiny beanie. It's just so cute. So you can leave it like this. You can put a pom-pom on the top. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a duplicate stitch heart on the front here, but I'm not going to do that in this video. If you want to learn how to do the duplicate stitch heart on a child's beanie, then look for that video. It will be posted at the same time as this, so it will be there. Okay, so thank you for joining me in this tutorial. I hope you had fun and enjoyed it. I certainly had fun doing it for you. Please post your projects on the group sites that we're all on, and I'd love to see them. Okay, take care.